Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And in just a few minutes, Rich Savinci is going to be with us talking about consultants in the workplace and what's going on there. It always has some interesting in the trenches subjects about what's going on in consulting that apply to non-consulting too. So he's going to be with us here. We always start out lately with 10 seconds of gratitude. I want you to think of something to be grateful for today. Just 3 things that you're grateful for. It's hard to be unhappy when you're grateful. You can't miss being happy with when you're grateful. So stop and think, what are 3 things you're grateful for today? Could be your health, your family, just the beautiful weather, um, nice things somebody said to you, nice things you said to somebody, just something you are grateful for. Okay. I wanted to discuss today something that came up this past week on both sides of the desk, the candidate side and the employer side. And it's the idea that if you take too much time to either interview with a company or to interview particular candidates, you have a tendency to lose out. In other words, if you snooze, you lose. We have an employer who has been looking for a candidate for almost 6 months. Now, whenever a client is looking for somebody for that long, you have to wonder, first of all, do they need somebody that badly? And he says that he does. He's been looking so long, he hired somebody for this position once, and it didn't work out after a short period of time. And so he's scared. He doesn't say that, but he is. He's afraid of making another mistake. So every time we come up with a candidate, he says he'll interview him, and he does, but he postpones it. And always something happens. And I reminded him this very nicely. I said, look, Mark, you keep postponing these interviews, and we're getting these candidates other interviews, and you by the time you get around to it, the candidate's already off into other opportunities. In fact, that's exactly what happened in this situation. The very time that the candidate became available, we arranged an interview with this employer. Candidate became available on a Monday. We arranged it for a Thursday. Thursday came along, and the employer couldn't do it on Thursday, so he postponed it to the next Monday. And then the Monday came along and something came up, and he postponed it to the next Thursday. And then he postponed it again to the next Friday, that Friday. And by the time he got around to it, we had the candidate in 3 other loops, and he was close to an offer stage by the time he got around to interviewing Mark. Mark, you can't do that. You got to interview him quickly if you want to be a player in the thing. So the candidate did interview with him, but he didn't do a real good job because he already had his mind on another offer that was coming. Likewise, we had a candidate that kept postponing the interview with an employer. He postponed it 3 times. And by the time he got around to postponing it the 3rd time, the employer was irritated. He interviewed the guy simply because he's having a hard time finding good candidates. He went ahead and interviewed him, but he didn't do it very enthusiastically. And he wasn't enthused about the candidate because the candidate had postponed it 3 times. And he postponed it the third time, and he never really, the reason he gave was a very weak reason. And frankly, the employer didn't believe him about why he wasn't going to be able to see him. So he postponed it. This was over a period of about 6 or 7 days. The candidate postponed the interview 3 times. The candidate's attitude was, well, I'm busy. I've got a job. I've got this problem and that problem and my family and all kinds of things. But it was pretty weak. It just didn't sound like a candidate who was really intent on finding a new job. And the employer detected that. So by the time they got around to interviewing what should have been a very good interview with a very qualified candidate and a very good opportunity for the candidate, it turned out to not very well. And they both walked away very unimpressed with each other. So the point is, when you snooze, you lose. These things are very hard to come by these days. Good candidates are very hard to come by. Good opportunities are very hard to come by. When they become available, you've got to be ready to take them and get them. And when you postpone them for even a short period of time, more than once or twice, the passion and the emotion for them just will go away. And you've got to be ready to think that way, that either one of the situations is not going to be good for the candidate or the employer. And that's a shame. We don't have a problem if the candidate and the employer decide not to go to work for each other for good business reasons, but for logistical reasons or for unemotional reasons, for things like that getting in the way, it's not good. It's not fair. It's not good for your business. It's not good for you as a candidate. It's just not good. A wise man learns by experience. A wiser man learns by others' experience. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashir with the Job Search Solution.